Shadowverse GG has released its very first tier list for the game Shadowverse Worlds Beyond. We are literally, halfway through week 1, so you definitely need to take this with a pinch of salt, guys. It is very, very early on in the game design. Most players haven't even got even close to kind of filling out their collection, and everybody is still learning the game and figuring things out. That said, it's quite fun to look at tier lists. This channel is going to be bringing you meta tier lists and player and meta guides and stuff. So if you like that, hit that subscribe. Be sure not to miss out going forward. What we're going to do in this video, though, is we're going to dive straight in. We're going to have a look at the different tiers, and we're going to explore some of the decks. Okay, so first things first, let's just take a look at the explanation. So they've broken it down to S tier, A tier, and B tier. They're saying S tier are decks with a well-rounded synergy, both able to pressure the opposing leader with damage or turn a threatening board around. Plus, those decks don't have any glaring weaknesses. Top the ability to adapt to a popular matchup if need be. So these really are kind of like dominating the early meta. The A tier are solid performers but lacking in either some flexibility or the ability to force the opponent into reactive position once it's time to go for the kill. Typically these have a great core strategy but might not be able to adapt well if the game does not go according to their plan. And the B tier is limited potential at the moment. These decks are not either suited to answer the popular decks well, or cannot mount enough pressure to force the opponent into a reactive stance. So with that said, let's take a look at the tier list. So in S tier, we've actually got the Portalcraft hybrid. Not surprised, right? If you've been following the game closely, we've seen Portalcraft doing extremely well, and I think what's happened just very recently is it started to hybrid. So rather than just going down the artifact route, it started to hybridize now and bringing in the disgusting legendary orchids. So we're going to get into that in a second. We've also got Runecraft spell boost up there in S tier and Forestcraft fairy. In A tier, we've got the Swordcraft Knights, the Dragoncraft Ramp, and the Portalcraft Puppets. And then in the B tier, they've gone for the Havencraft Amulet deck and the Abysscraft Departed Control. So let's take a look at some of the decks. So the Portalcraft hybrid first in S tier. So I'm just going to come out from here a tiny bit. There we go. So there you go, guys. This is the deck. I don't know where they've got this precise list from. And of course, there are variances to lists. But you know, it's interesting all the same, just to you get the sort of general concept of the deck. And of course, like, you've got this card here is absolute. It's an absolute mid-game turnaround, like especially when you're playing like Forestcraft or Swordcraft go wide stuff. This guy can just bring out the sea. Omega Seer, whatever it's called, that basically does the three AoE damage to board, and then it kind of resets, and then from there on this can just really take over. One of the big additions, as I said, when they sort of became more of a hybrid deck than just a pure artifact, was bringing in Orcus and realizing he didn't need to just be a puppet deck. Basically, like, this guy's just potentially the best card in the game. It's certainly up there. It's very, very powerful, and when you chuck it into this mix, into this build that's already very powerful, it's absolutely devastating. So yeah, this is the hybrid Portalcraft deck. And then we've got the Runecraft deck, the spell boost Runecraft deck. Interesting. I mean, this is a bit different to my version. But you know, they've actually gone for the things like the Runeblade Conductor, 3 copies of those, and yeah. So I mean, the thing about the Runeblade is it can get massive, right? You can have some games where it's a 17/17, you jump it down, and if they haven't got hard removal, it's kind of like game over. So I can kind of understand that, to be honest. But yeah, this is the version they've gone for. 2 copies of Decline and 3 copies of Blaze Destroyer. Sometimes you see that the other way around. 3 copies of Kuan, obviously, and gone for the Bell Ringers as well to basically just draw like crazy in the early game. Yeah, it's a really, really good deck. Yeah, looks really, really solid. Next up, you've got the Fairy Forestcraft. Now, it's interesting. The Fairy Forestcraft deck, in many ways, might be the most powerful deck, as in, like, we talk about having a power ceiling and a skill ceiling. So, for example, right now, I'm learning Forest, and I've just lost about 10 games in a row because my skill ceiling is on the floor. It's terrible, because I don't know what I'm doing. But the power ceiling is really, really high. Like, there's so many combinations with this deck that it is absolutely unbelievable. And honestly, you feel like if you can see the correct player line sometimes with this deck every single game, then you're probably the next Magnus Carlsen, because it's just like there's so many choices, which makes it fun to learn. But again, most people are going to struggle to kind of reach the true power ceiling with it. But very, very powerful. Obviously, when Arya comes down, she can create 3 fairies, and then from that point on, because of the crest, all fairies can go to face with Storm. And obviously, you've got the Roach for the bounce. What this version of the deck's quite interesting, because I've been looking at Forestcraft decks, and this looks a little bit different. This version, I don't know where they got it from, but it's gone things like the Baby Carbuncle. It's kind of gone, it's gone the Amataz. It's gone kind of like a little bit less on the card draw, which I can understand, because sometimes I'm finding that my hand is just full, and I end up just milling my own cards. So I can kind of understand that a little bit. So there's various versions that you can play of Forestcraft, but be warned, if you're a new player, it's maybe the hardest one to really master. Okay, so next up we have got the Knight's Swordcraft deck, and this is a really nice kind of like beginner's deck, right? Because you can just kind of like play on your curve, put loads of bodies down, build a board. You've got things like Zirconia Iron Crown to just really help in the middle game, in the mid game, and all you've got to really do is get your opponent down to sort of around the 12 mark, and then Albert can come on and just hit face twice and win you the game. It can be a bit more difficult if you don't draw Albert, and I've seen some players leaning a little bit more into some of the late game to help, but yeah, pretty solid deck. And definitely, I would say, like, if you're a beginner to the game and you're only going to focus on one faction, this could be a good one, because, like I say, it's probably pretty powerful, but easier to understand what it is you're trying to do. So you're probably going to realize more of that power ceiling. Next up, you've got the Dragoncraft, which, again, if you don't like Swordcraft, maybe this would be a good alternative. It's a slightly easier deck to play. Of course, what we're doing with this deck is ramping, right? So we've got things like the Dragon Sign, and you've got the Louis Feng. Both of those cards can help you ramp. So, you know, when we talk about ramp, like, obviously Louis Feng's 4, so next turn it would cost 5, you would get 5 player points, but what this does is bump you up 1, so you'd skip to 6 player points, right? So you can get up into the higher planes a lot quicker, and then therefore you can start playing these like big bombs before your opponent gets to do so. Interesting, he is running 2 copies of the Genesis Dragon, so really really threatening in that late game with things like the Twilight Dragon Genesis and 3 copies of Garyu. Yeah, very, very powerful. Next up, we've got the Puppet Portalcraft deck. Now, this is probably a little bit low key. It's good deck, you know. It's really good. It's got good removal, and of course, it's still got that magnificent endgame in the Orcus, and even Liam's not too bad, right? Giving you even more reach. That combination of those two in the endgame is just, it is absolutely devastating. And of course, with Orcus in this deck, you're going to get other puppets as well that you can kind of store up in your hand. And it's got some nice removal as well. So this is also very, very good. I think Portalcraft are just in a great place. Like, if you're just interested in, if you're jumping in and you're just interested in like power level this week, then Portalcraft are probably the best class, if you like, overall, just because you've got 2 decks that are in the top 2 tiers. So yeah. Overall, this is a really nice deck. Even things like the Met Cavalier in there. Like, if you Super Evo this thing, there's so many stats that go down on the board. It's crazy. All right. Next up, we have got the Amulet Havencraft. So we're down into the B tier now. I was a little bit surprised to see Haven in B, to be honest. But when you go back and listen to the description of a B. They talked about the ability to kind of change gears a little bit, and yeah, I can maybe understand that Haven struggles a little bit with that. But I've just done a Havencraft control deck. It's a little bit different to this one. If you want, it's a bit more grindy. If you want to go see that, go check out my control Haven control. It's on the channel. But in this version, what have they gone for? So they've gone for ability to kind of like draw into the cards that need things like Ruby and Lair in the early game. They have actually gone for 3 copies of Skullflame of Demise. So this is a little bit more. It's a bit more of a kind of tempo-y build actually than the one that that I had on my channel, which was a bit more grindy control. So they are trying to switch the gears a little bit more here by playing things like the Avian Statue, things like the Sacred Griffin. Right, this is all about designed to sort of give you some reach with Storm, and to obviously be able to set up really big Xian plays where you time your amulets going down to 1, and then you play Xian to just give everyone that +2. Yeah, it's a really fun deck. It's one of my favorite decks so far. I've played a little bit of the amulet tempo deck like this one, and I've also played a bit more of the control. This is really good in the tempo deck, right? Because you can just put all those out, and then all those amulets out, and then you just hit it with a Skullflame, and they all kind of get destroyed, and it just gives you this massive board. So yeah, really nice deck. And last but not least, we've got the departed Abysscraft. Now, Abysscraft is admittedly the weakest faction, I think. I think that's fair to say. They are just struggling a little bit. They don't really have as many clear win cons. They're just a little bit... it feels a bit like what they've done is that, and maybe this is because they've merged Shadowcraft and Bloodcraft. It feels a little bit like they're kind of like... They really need the expansions to come out with this class, right? It's almost like they've got a base, a foundation of some cards, but they don't quite yet all gel together. They don't quite have that complementary build like the other classes do at the minute. So yeah, but this is, if you are an Abysscraft player, this is the best that they've come up with so far in the in the meta report. And yeah, they've gone for a you know, I think they've got, let's have a look, they've got a couple of neutrals in here, haven't they, with the Ruby. Did they play the did they play... Yeah, they've got Olivia in there, 3 copies of Olivia. Obviously, Cerebus. Is the 3-drop in there? No, they're not running the 3-drop. Okay. Rage of the Serpents is quite an interesting card as well. This gives you a little bit of reach. There's not many cards in the game like this where you can just do like spell damage essentially to face, but that is one of the very few cheap spells that can do that. So yeah, if you just really love this class in particular, then something like this could be helpful. I'll leave a link in the description below to the report itself. But yeah, really cool to see a meta report out so quick. Like I said at the beginning, there it is. There's the overall summary. But like I said at the beginning, take it with a pinch of salt for now, guys. You know, I think in the next coming weeks, we're going to have a few tournaments coming out, and people are going to start building their, you know, their collection. So I think the best decks will rise up, and this will start to solidify. So anyway, that's it for this week's meta report, guys. Give us a comment and a thumbs up down below. Let us know what you think. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.